wind screamed like a living beast over the frozen plains of planet Arcanis 7. The storm had swallowed everything: light, sound, and hope. The temperature had dropped so low that even metal cracked under pressure. It was the kind of place where no one should be alive. Miles away from any settlement, a small figure stumbled through the white chaos. It was a child, an alien child. Their skin shimmered faintly blue, almost glowing in the blizzard. Their large black eyes were filled with tears that instantly turned into ice crystals on their cheeks. Each breath came out in small clouds before disappearing into the cold void. The child's name was Ari, a member of a peaceful species known as the Velari. They were gentle beings who lived in harmony with nature, but now Ari was alone, scared and freezing. The storm had separated them from their family's transport craft when it crashed. Pieces of the ship lay scattered under the snow, half buried, half burned. No one had come to help. Ari's tiny hands clutched a glowing pendant hanging from their neck, a small memory crystal. Inside it was the voice of their mother, repeating the same calm words. "Stay strong, little light. Someone will find you." But Ari was no longer sure if that someone even existed. The storm howled louder, mocking their hope. Their legs trembled. Their lungs hurt. Each tear that rolled down froze instantly before it could even fall. Meanwhile, many kilometers away, Captain Raylan Holt, a human explorer, was on patrol in his small hovercraft. He wasn't supposed to be here. His mission had been canceled days ago after the storm warning. But Raylan wasn't the type to sit and wait when he knew someone could be in danger. His scanners blinked with static until a faint distress signal cut through the noise, an unknown frequency. Not human, not mechanical, something else. Raylan leaned forward, frowning. "What the hell is that?" he muttered. The signal was weak, pulsing like a heartbeat. He adjusted his systems and a soft sound came through, a voice, faint and trembling. It was crying, "Someone, please, help." Raylan's chest tightened. The voice wasn't human, but it sounded young, desperate. Against protocol, he changed course. His ship shook violently as he entered the storm zone, but he kept going. He couldn't turn back now, visibility dropped to nothing. The radar showed static. Ice formed along his windshield. Still, Raylan pushed the controls, searching for the signal source. His heart pounded. He had seen war, death, and disaster before, but this felt different. This felt personal. Then, through the white blur, his headlights caught movement, a small shape struggling against the wind. Raylan gasped. "Is that a child?" He jumped out of the craft, the wind slicing his face. The cold burned instantly, but he didn't care. He fought his way forward, boots sinking deep into the snow until he reached the little figure. Ari looked up weakly, their big eyes glistening like frozen gems. They tried to speak, but their lips were numb. Their skin had turned pale blue, almost transparent. "It's okay," Raylan said, kneeling beside them. His voice was rough but gentle. "You're safe now." He wrapped his thermal jacket around Ari and lifted them into his arms. The alien child was so light, too light. Their body was ice cold, almost lifeless. Raylan carried them back to his hovercraft and sealed the hatch. He turned the heat to maximum. Slowly, the child's breathing steadied. For a moment, everything was quiet except the sound of the storm outside and the weak heartbeat from the small alien in his arms. Ari's eyes fluttered open. "You human?" they whispered. Raylan smiled faintly. "Yeah, human. You're safe now, kid." The child's frozen tears sparkled under the dim cabin light. They blinked as if trying to believe this stranger really came through the storm for them. Outside, the storm roared louder, but inside, something fragile and warm began to grow. A bond born from two souls that were never meant to meet. Raylan looked out the window into the blinding snow and whispered, "Hang on, kid. We'll get you home." But deep inside he knew this was only the beginning. Far above them, in the orbit of Arcanis 7, a shadow moved, a ship cloaked and watching. Someone or something was tracking the same signal, and they didn't come to rescue. Inside the small hovercraft, the storm's howl faded into a deep, muffled rumble. The engines hummed, fighting the ice that tried to freeze every moving part. Captain Raylan Holt sat beside the unconscious alien child, his hands still shaking from the cold. He had seen strange things in his years as an explorer, but nothing like this. A lost alien child on a dead planet. He glanced at the monitor. The signal that led him here was still blinking. It wasn't just a distress call anymore, it was responding. Someone out there had noticed the same signal and was now tracking it. Raylan frowned. That's not good. He turned off the transmitter, cutting the outgoing frequency. But it was too late. The coordinates had already been shared. Somewhere above, an unknown ship began to descend through the storm. The child Aerie stirred weakly. Their skin glowed faintly again, a soft blue light pulsing from beneath the surface like a heartbeat. Raylan leaned closer. Hey, easy there. You're safe. Just breathe. Aerie's eyes opened slowly. Their voice was thin, trembling. The storm took my family. I can't find them. Raylan's throat tightened. He wanted to tell the child everything would be fine, but he had learned long ago that false promises could hurt more than the truth. We'll look for them, he said instead. But first, we need to get you warm. He opened a small compartment and pulled out a thermal blanket, wrapping it around Aerie. The alien child looked at the fabric curiously, their fingers brushing the rough texture. This is human fabric? They asked softly. Raylan smiled faintly. Yeah, not as fancy as your people's tech, I bet, but it keeps you alive. Aerie gave a weak nod. You came through the storm. For me? Couldn't just leave you out there, he said, his voice low. You remind me of someone. Aerie tilted their head. Who? Raylan hesitated. My daughter, he whispered. Then he quickly changed the subject. Now tell me what happened. Maybe we can find your family. Aerie closed their eyes for a moment, remembering. We were running from something. A dark ship came out of the sky. It fired at us. My mother told me to hide, then everything burned. Raylan's stomach twisted. A dark ship? Military? Aerie shook their head. No, worse, they are hunters. They take Valari children to sell them. Raylan felt the air go cold again, not from the storm this time, but from fear. He had heard rumors in the outer colonies about alien traffickers who hunted rare species. But he never believed it was true. Now he knew it was. He moved to the cockpit and scanned the sky. A red light blinked on his radar. A large object was entering atmosphere, fast. Damn it, he muttered. They found us. He grabbed his communicator. Base, this is Captain Holt. I've got a non-human survivor and hostile activity incoming. Need extraction now. But the speaker only hissed with static. The storm was still jamming every channel. They were completely cut off. Raylan turned back to Aerie. Listen, kid. We need to move now. Aerie's eyes widened. The hunters. They come? Yes, Raylan said, helping them stand. And they don't ask questions. He ran to the control panel, pressed a few buttons, and switched the hovercraft into stealth mode. The lights dimmed and the engine went silent. Outside, the storm still screamed, but now it would help hide them. Through the thick frost on the window, Raylan saw a shadow in the sky and a massive, black ship cutting through the clouds like a shark in dark water. Its searchlights flickered across the snow, moving closer. Stay down, he whispered. Aerie crouched beside him, trembling. Their pendant glowed again, reacting to something. Maybe to the signal, maybe to fear. The alien ship's scanner beam swept over them once. Twice, then passed. For a moment, silence returned. Raylan exhaled slowly, but then the radar flashed red. The beam turned back. They had been found. A loud crack shook the craft as something hit the ground nearby, an energy pulse that sent snow flying in every direction. Aerie gasped. They see us. Raylan grabbed his blaster and shouted, Hold on! He slammed the throttle forward. The hovercraft roared to life, breaking through the storm like a bullet. The hunter's ship opened fire, bright blue plasma lighting up the dark sky. Each shot exploded around them, sending shockwaves through the frozen ground. Raylan's hands gripped the controls tight. We're not dying here, kid. The craft darted through a canyon of ice, scraping against sharp walls. Behind them, the hunter ship followed, unstoppable. Inside the cockpit, alarms screamed. Ice cracked under their path. But Raylan refused to stop. Aerie clung to the seat, eyes wide. Why help me? They cried over the noise. Raylan didn't look back. Because no one helped my daughter when she needed it. The words hung heavy in the air. Outside, another blast struck close, and the hovercraft tumbled into darkness, crashing deep into a frozen ravine. When the smoke cleared, Raylan lay still, blood trickling down his forehead. The storm raged above. Aerie crawled toward him, whispering his name. Raylan, wake up. But he didn't move, and somewhere high above, the hunter's ship began to descend. The wreckage of the hovercraft lay half buried in snow and silence. Steam hissed from the cracked engine and blue sparks flashed weakly in the darkness. Outside, the storm screamed across the frozen ravine, throwing walls of ice and wind against the broken hull. Inside, Irie sat beside Raylan, shaking his shoulder again and again. "Please, wake up," they whispered. Their small voice was nearly lost to the howling wind. Raylan's face was pale, a thin line of blood running from his forehead to his jaw. His breathing was slow, shallow. The crash had knocked him unconscious. Aerie looked around in panic. They didn't understand human machines, not fully. The buttons, the lights, the wires, all were strange to them. But they knew one thing. If Raylan didn't wake up soon, he would freeze. The child pressed their glowing hands against his chest. Their palms emitted faint blue light, a natural energy from their species, the Volari life wave. It wasn't strong, not at their young age, but it was enough to give warmth. "Please, human, don't leave," Aerie whispered again, eyes full of tears that froze before hitting the ground. A faint heartbeat answered. Raylan groaned, his fingers twitching. Slowly his eyes opened. "Aerie?" The alien child smiled through frozen tears. "You live," Raylan coughed, sitting up. Pain shot through his ribs, but he managed a weak grin. "You kept me alive, huh? Guess we're even now." But before they could say more, a low mechanical sound echoed through the canyon. A beam of red light swept across the snowy floor outside. Aerie's body stiffened. "Hunters!" Raylan crawled to the window and peeked out. 3 tall figures were moving through the storm, their armor black and sharp like blades. Each carried a glowing staff weapon pulsing with plasma energy. "They're on foot," Raylan whispered, scanning for survivors. He reached for his blaster, only to find it half broken from the crash. "Damn it!" Aerie looked down at their pendant, the crystal their mother gave them. It glowed softly, reacting to the presence of the hunters. "They use the same energy. They stole it from my people." Raylan frowned. "Then maybe that thing can help us fight back." Aerie hesitated. "I don't know how. My mother said the pendant chooses when to protect." A sudden explosion shook the wreck. The hunters had found the crash site. One of them aimed a scanner at the ship and spoke in a metallic voice. Life signatures confirmed. Human and Volari child. Raylan clenched his jaw. "We're out of time." He grabbed a flare gun from the emergency kit and loaded the last signal charge. "Not much, but it'll blind them for a few seconds." Aerie looked frightened. "You can't fight them alone." Raylan smiled faintly. "I don't plan to. I just need a distraction. When I open that hatch, you run. But no buts, kid. You saved my life. Let me return the favor." Before Aerie could protest again, Raylan kicked open the damaged hatch. The freezing air blasted in and snow swirled around them like shards of glass. He aimed the flare gun and fired. A blinding flash lit the canyon, painting everything red. The hunters staggered backward, their sensors overloaded. Raylan rushed forward, blaster raised, firing short bursts of blue plasma. One of the hunters fell, but 2 others moved fast, surrounding him. Aerie hid behind a chunk of ice, heart racing. They could feel the pendant pulsing against their chest, faster and brighter, as if alive. Then they heard Raylan shout. He had been hit. Energy sparks tore across his shoulder and he fell to his knees. Aerie's fear turned to something else. Anger, deep and hot like fire under the ice. The pendant responded, glowing so bright it filled the ravine with light. The hunters turned. Energy surge detected. Unknown source. Before they could react, the snow around Aerie lifted in a spiral, swirling like a small storm. The pendant floated into the air and Aerie's eyes turned pure white. A beam of blue energy exploded outward, slamming into the hunters. The first was thrown back into the canyon wall. The second froze mid-step, armor cracking as ice grew over it. The air hummed with power, the same ancient force that once protected the Volari civilization. Raylan shielded his eyes from the light.
Aerie, what the hell?
Aerie stood still, their voice layered and strange. They will not take me again. The pendant shattered into fragments of light and sank into Aerie's chest. The glow faded slowly, leaving only the sound of crackling ice and the faint wind. 2 hunters lay motionless. The third crawled back toward his communicator, shouting, "Target unstable, send extraction now." Raylan rushed forward and grabbed Aerie's shoulders. Hey, look at me. You okay?" Aerie blinked, their glow fading to a soft shimmer. "I don't know." I felt something calling me. Raylan looked up toward the sky. Above the storm, faint red lights blinked. More ships arriving. Then we need to move, he said, pulling Ari close. That power of yours just told everyone where we are. He limped toward the back exit of the ravine, snow crunching beneath their feet. Behind them, the wrecked craft flickered one last time before the wind buried it completely. The storm roared again, louder than before, as if the planet itself was watching. And far above, in orbit, the leader of the hunters stared at his scanner. The child has awakened, he said coldly. The prophecy was true. Find them before the human does. The storm outside had grown even wilder, as if the planet itself was warning them to stay hidden. Ice slammed against the canyon walls while Raylan and Irie struggled through the snow, their bodies aching, their minds racing. Behind them, the sky burned red with the hunters' searchlights. The black ships circled above like vultures, scanning every inch of the frozen land. Raylan limped slightly, his wounded shoulder bleeding through his torn jacket. We can't stay out here. They'll find us, he said, teeth clenched. Irie nodded weakly. Their pendant was gone, but something still glowed faintly under their skin, a strange blue light pulsing from their chest. As they trudged forward, the wind suddenly shifted. A deep rumble echoed beneath their feet. The ground cracked, revealing a hidden tunnel under the ice. Raylan froze. What the? Arie's eyes widened. It's calling us, they whispered. Before Raylan could ask what they meant, the ground gave way completely, and both of them fell into the darkness below. They landed on a smooth surface, the fall cushioned by ancient vines and frost. Raylan groaned, pushing himself up. You okay, kid? Arie nodded, their glowing skin lighting the chamber. The walls were covered in carvings, symbols that shimmered faintly as if alive. Raylan stared. This isn't natural ice, it's architecture. The carvings depicted tall, elegant beings, Valari, standing beside human-like figures. Rays of energy flowed between their hands, connecting both species in unity. Arie walked closer, their fingers brushing over the carvings. These are my ancestors, they said softly. The first light builders, Raylan frowned. Your people built this? Yes, Arie whispered. Long ago, before humans even reached the stars, the Valari shared energy with the first explorers who came here. They called it the life wave. Raylan's eyes widened. That's the same power you used against the hunters. Arie nodded slowly. It's part of us. But after the war, the life wave was forbidden. My people sealed it under the ice so it could never be used again. Raylan glanced around, the carvings glowing brighter as if responding to Arie's presence. Then why did your pendant reactivate it? Irie looked down at their chest, confused. Maybe because it sensed you. Me? Yes, they said simply. You risked your life for someone not your kind. The life wave only answers hearts that protect, not destroy. Raylan didn't know what to say. For the first time in years, he felt something he'd forgotten. Hope. But the moment was broken by a sharp metallic sound echoing from above. The hunters were lowering drones into the tunnel. They found us again, Raylan growled. He looked around desperately. At the far end of the chamber, a doorway glowed with pale blue light. That way, he shouted. They ran toward it as red beams from the drones sliced through the dark. The ancient door opened at Arie's touch, leading into a long corridor filled with crystal pillars. Each pillar hummed softly as they passed, lighting up with their movement. The air was warm now, filled with gentle whispers like memories trapped in stone. Raylan slowed down, his eyes scanning the glowing crystals. What is this place? Irie touched one of them. The crystal flared, showing a ghostly image of a Valari woman, tall, serene, her eyes filled with light. Mother, Irie gasped. The image spoke, her voice echoing through the chamber. To whoever carries the life wave, you are not alone. The bond between species is our strength. Protect each other and the storm will obey you. Raylan stood frozen. That was your mother? Arie's voice trembled. Yes, she was one of the life keepers. She must have left this message before the hunters came. The message faded, leaving behind a bright energy core inside the crystal. Raylan reached out but stopped. Can I touch it? Arie nodded. It will know your heart. He placed his hand against the core. A sudden surge of light shot through him, filling his body with warmth. His wounds closed and his vision cleared. He gasped. What was that? Eerie smiled faintly. The life wave accepted you. Before Raylan could respond, the chamber shook violently. The hunters had broken through. Move, he shouted, pulling Eerie toward a smaller exit. Blaster fire filled the corridor as red bolts tore into the walls. Raylan returned fire, using his newly healed strength to push forward. The crystal pillars exploded behind them, raining shards of glowing ice. They dove into a narrow tunnel that led deeper underground. The sounds of pursuit faded slowly, replaced by a low hum ahead. At the end of the tunnel, they emerged into a vast underground lake, its surface frozen but glowing from beneath. Strange machinery rested at the bottom, ancient and sleeping. Eerie stared in awe. The heart of Arcanis. It's still here. Raylan raised an eyebrow. The what? The machine that controls the weather, Eerie whispered. It keeps the storms alive, or it can end them. Raylan stepped closer to the edge. You mean we can stop this blizzard? Eerie nodded slowly. If we can awaken it before the hunters do. Above them, faint echoes of engines roared through the ice. The hunters were deploying more troops. Raylan looked down at Eerie, determination burning in his eyes. Then let's wake it up, kid. Time to turn their storm against them. And far above, in the hunter command ship, the leader smiled coldly as he watched their location appear on his screen. Good, he said. Let them reach the heart. It will save us the trouble of digging it out ourselves. The underground lake glowed with a cold, steady light. It was vast, so large that Raylan couldn't see the other side. Beneath the frozen surface, golden patterns pulsed slowly, forming shapes like veins inside a living being. Eerie stood at the edge, eyes wide in awe. It's still alive, they whispered. The heart of Arcanis still beats. Raylan stared at the sight. That's the machine that controls the weather? Eerie nodded. Yes, my ancestors built it to protect this world. The storms were meant to keep invaders away. But something changed. The heart began to rage against everything, even us. Raylan frowned. So this storm, this never-ending ice, wasn't natural? No, Eerie said softly. It was corrupted. Long ago, the hunters tried to steal the life wave from the heart. When they failed, it broke. Now the storm is its pain. Raylan took a deep breath. Then we fix it. Eerie looked uncertain. Only a Valari lifekeeper can touch the core. And I'm just a child. Raylan smiled faintly. You're more than that, kid. You brought me back from death. You faced those monsters. You've got more courage than half the soldiers I've known. The alien child looked down at the glowing ice, their reflection trembling in the light. But what if it rejects me? The life wave can destroy those who are unworthy. Raylan placed a hand on their shoulder. Then I'll stand with you. If we go down together. For a moment, silence filled the cavern. Then Eerie nodded. Okay. They walked carefully onto the frozen surface. Each step echoed softly, and the golden veins below their feet brightened. The hum in the air grew stronger, like the deep breath of something waking up after centuries. When they reached the center, a crystal spire rose slowly from beneath the ice. It was beautiful, clear as glass, filled with swirling light. Inside it, faint shapes moved like memories trapped in time. Eerie stepped forward, trembling. This is it? The core. Raylan drew his blaster and looked around. Let's do this fast. The hunters are still tracking us. Eerie knelt beside the crystal and placed their glowing hands on it. A shockwave rippled through the ice. Light flared around them and a deep voice filled the air. It wasn't a person's voice, but the planet itself speaking. Valari blood and human heart. The bond returns. Eerie gasped, their eyes glowing white again. It's responding. Raylan stepped closer, shielding his eyes from the blinding light. What's it saying? Eerie's voice became layered and distant. It knows the life wave woke again, but it says the storm cannot stop. Not yet, why not? Raylan shouted over the sound of cracking ice. Eerie trembled. Because the heart is dying. Its power is leaking into the sky. If it stops, everything will freeze forever. Raylan clenched his fists. Then what do we do? Eerie turned to him, eyes glowing brighter. It says it needs a second connection. A living being of another kind. Raylan understood instantly. Eerie shook their head. If you join the heart, it could kill you. He smiled faintly. You said it only destroys the unworthy, right? Let's see if I'm worthy enough. Before Eerie could stop him, Raylan placed his hand on the crystal. The light surged around him, brighter than before. He felt energy rush into his veins, fire and ice together. burning and freezing at once. Memories flashed before his eyes, his daughter's laughter, his failures, his guilt, and finally, Ares' small hand reaching for him in the storm. The heart's voice spoke again. One protects life. One carries pain. Together, balance returns. The frozen lake cracked open, glowing lines racing outward like lightning. Above them, the storm roared louder and then, for the first time, began to fade. The clouds thinned. The endless snow slowed. A weak ray of sunlight broke through the surface ice and touched the cavern below. Eerie looked up, tears in their eyes. "It's working." But the joy lasted only seconds. The ground shook violently and a deep mechanical sound echoed from above. Raylan looked toward the entrance. "They're here." From the tunnel, black-armored hunters stormed in, dozens of them led by a tall figure with red eyes. "Step away from the core," the leader ordered, his voice metallic and cold. "The heart belongs to us," Raylan aimed his blaster. "Over my dead body," the hunter smirked. "That can be arranged." He raised his weapon and fired. Raylan dived aside, returning fire. The blasts echoed through the cavern, reflecting off the crystal pillars. Sparks and ice filled the air. Eerie shouted, "No! Stop! You'll break the heart!" But the hunters didn't listen. One of their shots struck the crystal directly. The light inside flickered violently and the ground cracked beneath them. Raylan ran to Eerie, grabbing their hand. "We need to stabilize it." Eerie's voice shook. "If the heart breaks, the storm will explode across the planet." "Then we hold it together," Raylan said. The two of them pressed their hands to the core, merging human strength and Valari energy once more. Light flooded the room, pushing back the hunters. But in the chaos, the leader smiled and activated a hidden device on his arm. "If I can't take the heart," he said, "I'll make sure no one else does." A red countdown began to blink on his wrist. Raylan's eyes widened. "Eerie, it's a bomb." The timer ticked down, 5 seconds, 4, 3. Eerie looked at Raylan with calm eyes. "Trust me." The light around them flared one last time, blinding and pure, and then everything went white. Silence. For a long moment, there was only silence. The explosion that should have torn the world apart never came. Instead, the white light had swallowed everything. Cold, soft, endless. When Raylan finally opened his eyes, he was floating. The cavern, the hunters, even the storm above were gone. He drifted inside a space of glowing mist like being inside the heart of a star. "Eerie?" he called out. His voice sounded small, echoing forever. A figure appeared ahead, walking across the light. Small, fragile, but radiant. Eerie. Their glow was stronger than ever, surrounding them like wings made of mist and energy. "Where are we?" Raylan asked, voice trembling. Eerie smiled softly. "Inside the heart. It protected us." Raylan looked around in disbelief. "Protected us? From a bomb that big?" "The heart doesn't destroy life," Eerie said gently. "It hides it until danger passes." Raylan looked at his hands. Light flowed through his skin now, golden and blue. "Am I alive?" "Yes," Eerie said, stepping closer. "But not for long. The connection between us is unstable. You're human. You can't hold the life wave for too long." Raylan frowned. "So that's why everything feels like it's burning." Eerie nodded sadly. "You shared your soul with the heart. It gave back what it could, but it cannot keep you here." Raylan sighed, rubbing his temple. "Figures. I saved the world and still end up dying." Eerie reached out, touching his arm. "You're not dying, Raylan. You're becoming part of something greater. The heart chose you." He looked into their glowing eyes and saw something, an ocean of memories, light years of pain and love. "You're not just a child, are you?" Eerie hesitated, then spoke quietly. "No, I was born from the last Lifekeeper, my mother, and the energy of the heart itself. I am both Valari and the planet's voice. The hunters wanted me because through me, they could control everything." Raylan's chest tightened. "You're the key to the storms," Eerie nodded. "And the storms are the planet's tears. It cries because it remembers the war." For a while, neither of them spoke. The light pulsed softly around them, like a heartbeat waiting for a choice. Raylan finally said, "If you can calm the heart, the planet will heal." "Right?" "Yes," Eerie whispered. "But I can't do it alone. It needs a bridge, something from outside the life wave." "That's you." Raylan laughed softly, though his eyes were tired. "You mean the old guy who barely survived a crash?" "Yeah, great choice. You have what it doesn't," Eerie said. Fear, regret, love. That's what balances power. Raylan stared at them for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay, what do we do? Eerie extended their hand. Join with me one last time. Give the heart your truth. He hesitated, then took their hand. The moment their fingers touched, the light around them shifted from blue to gold. Images flashed everywhere. The frozen plains, the burning ships, the hunters falling, and above it all, a clear sky breaking open. Raylan felt the weight of every life connected to the storm. The Volari, the lost humans, the dying planet itself. He saw it all and it saw him. Then a voice, ancient and kind, spoke inside his mind. Human heart, will you bear the cost of peace? Raylan closed his eyes. If it means saving them. Yes, the light burst outward. Irie cried out, but Raylan held their hand tighter. It's okay, kid. You finish what we started. Raylan, no. Irie shouted, but it was too late. His body dissolved into light, merging fully with the heart. The entire cavern shone brighter than a sunrise. The energy wave rose through the tunnels up to the frozen sky above. The storm screamed one last time, and then stopped. For the first time in centuries, sunlight touched the surface of Arcanis 7. The endless ice began to melt. The wind softened into calm air and the sky turned from gray to blue. Eerie fell to their knees, tears of light running down their face. You did it, they whispered. You really did it. The hunter ships that still hovered above were caught in the wave of energy. Their engines froze, their weapons failed, and one by one they fell from the sky like dead stars. The war was over. The planet was free, but Raylan was gone. Eerie placed their hand over their chest, feeling the faint golden pulse inside. You're not gone, they said softly. You're part of me now, part of the heart. They stood slowly, light surrounding them like armor. I will protect this world. For both of us. Above, the sky of Arcanis 7 cleared completely, and a warm wind swept across the thawing plains. The people who would one day return here would never know the human who saved them, but the planet would remember. And deep within the glowing core, a familiar voice whispered faintly through the life wave. Told you, kid. We get you home. Days passed. Then weeks. The world of Arcanis 7, once a graveyard of ice and silence, began to breathe again. The storm was gone. The skies, once gray and endless, now shimmered in soft blue hues. Rivers of melted ice ran down mountains that hadn't seen sunlight in centuries. Flowers, small glowing crystals of color, sprang from the ground, shimmering in the light of two suns. It was a rebirth, and at the center of it all, deep beneath the surface, Irie stood in the chamber of the heart, the same place where a human had given everything to save a dying world. The massive crystal that once raged with unstable power now pulsed calmly. Its glow was gentle, golden mixed with blue, two colors beating as one. Eerie placed their hand on the crystal. Hello, Raylan, they whispered. A faint warmth answered. The heart's surface rippled, and from the golden light a voice spoke. Still talking to yourself, kid? Eerie smiled. You sound tired. I've been keeping the storms asleep, Raylan's voice said with humor. You have any idea how noisy this planet gets when it's happy? Eerie laughed softly, their glow brightening. It's peaceful now. The hunters are gone. The ice is melting. The Volari will return someday. Good, Raylan said gently. That's how it should be. Eerie hesitated. You could have survived. You didn't have to give up your body. Maybe not, he replied, but I had to give you a chance to live. You and this world deserved it more than I did. Eerie looked up at the glowing ceiling as if seeing the sky above. You did save us. The heart listens to you now. It calls your name in the wind. Heh. Not bad for an old human, huh? They both fell silent for a moment. Only the sound of the heart's hum filled the space. A sound like slow, steady breathing. Eerie whispered, I can still feel you inside me. Your thoughts, your courage. And you'll need it, Raylan said. The hunters might be gone, but others will come. Power always attracts darkness. That's why the heart needs a guardian. Eerie looked down. A guardian? Yeah, Raylan said softly. You, the guardian of Arcanis. You can talk to the storms, guide the weather, protect the balance. You're everything this world needs now. Eerie took a deep breath. Then I'll do it. I'll protect it. For you. No, Raylan said gently. For us. Years passed. Stories spread among the stars. stories of a planet that healed itself, of skies that once cried ice and now sang with wind. Explorers who landed there found strange markings in the snow, spirals of light that pulsed softly, almost like heartbeats. And when they listened closely, they swore they could hear a human voice whisper through the air, saying, "Keep moving, kid." Airy grew, taller, wiser, and stronger. Their glow became constant like a small sun walking on two legs. They learned to shape the storms, calm the lightning, and speak to the planet as if it were family. But every night before resting, they would return to the heart and place their hand on its surface. "Good night, Raylan," they'd say softly, and the light would flicker, as if answering back, "Sleep well, Guardian." One day, many years later, a ship descended from the stars, small, human-made, carrying explorers from the Alliance. They landed near the thawed plains, amazed to find green valleys and shining lakes. When they approached the ruins beneath the ice, they saw a figure waiting for them, a glowing being with eyes like stars. "Identify yourself," the captain called out. Nervous but respectful, Airy smiled kindly. "I am the guardian of this world. I protect what was once broken." The captain lowered his weapon slowly. "We were told this planet was dead." "It was," Airy said softly. "But a human saved it." The crew exchanged glances. "A human? That's impossible. No life signs were ever recorded here." Airy turned toward the sky where light danced gently across the clouds. "Some lives don't end, they just change." The captain frowned. "What happened to him?" Airy smiled faintly. "He became the light you see above. Every sunrise here carries his voice. Every storm listens to his will." The humans stood silent, feeling the wind shift. Warm, calm, almost like a whisper brushing against their ears. "Welcome home." The crew looked around, startled. "Did you hear that?" Airy only smiled. "That's him." As the sun set that evening, golden and blue light filled the sky, two colors merging perfectly over the peaceful world. Airy stood on a cliff, watching the horizon. "You see, Raylan?" they said softly. "You didn't die. You became the heart of this world." A soft laugh echoed through the wind. "Told you, kid. Humans are hard to kill." Airy laughed too, tears sparkling like tiny stars as they fell. "Then stay with me forever. Always." The wind carried his voice across the plains, through the rivers and into the stars above, a promise that the storm would never rise again, and that the bond between human and alien would live forever. And so, the story of Arcanis 7 ended not in fire, not in war, but in light, the light of a human heart that refused to fade.